Hey, folks, it's time for the quote of the day, and today we are going to be quoting one of the most prolific authors, writers of all time. I can't really think of anybody else that's written more than him, and I can't think of anybody else that's written as much and is still so easily recognizable by his work. Today we are quoting for his birthday Alexandre Dumas. Now, some of you may not recognize that name, some of you may not immediately know who that is, but I promise you, you know his work. This is the author of the legendary, iconic fucking books like The Count of Monte Cristo and The Man in the Iron Mask, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. and and most importantly, probably his most famous piece of work and the thing that people will recognize his name for is The Three Musketeers. Now, I know that a lot of people are like, well, he just wrote a couple of things. No, no, no. When I tell you he was prolific, this man wrote over 100,000 pages of work. Like those three novels are what he's most known for, but he wrote fucking articles and editorial pieces, and he wrote plays, and I mean, this dude was writing all the fucking time. And he in his time was basically, for a good portion of his life, was a fucking rock star because of it. Like, he lived a good life for a good portion of his life, probably 20 years of his life. Well, we're going to talk about what happened near the end, like towards the decline, if you will, because he had written so many amazing, groundbreaking swords, flying, romance, just this swashbuckling type of thinking about just amazing, amazing works. If you haven't read these three books, at least, I absolutely like it. Just go, if you don't want to read the book, go watch the movies based on them. They're not perfect, but they're pretty fucking close, and they're worth your time. Absolutely, just amazing. How could you not know D'Artagnan and Athos and Porthos and Aramis? I mean, these are legendary fucking characters that never existed, but they captured your imaginations in ways that, I mean, just I didn't have words. Like, I remember reading The Three Musketeers, you know, 150 years removed from when it was written, and just being entranced by it. Just entranced. What a fabulous writer. And to be fair, let me make this clear, he did have help. This was very common back in the day. A lot of times people don't understand that there was a point in time when authors like him would have essentially like think tanks that worked underneath them, and they would bring forth ideas, and then it was under his name that those things would get edited or rewritten or whatever, so that they could be put out under his name. And it just so happens that this practice brought us, I don't remember his name right now. I want to say McKay was his name, but I could be wrong about that. A writer that he worked with on all of these famous novels, and somebody who ended up actually trying to get, like, I think he sued him for the rights, or at least like partial credit or something like that. I don't remember all of the details of this man's life, but I remember reading that. Now, like I said, I want to talk about kind of the latter part of his life, the part where he kind of fell off. At one point in time, like I said, he was a rock star. But one thing that's important to know about Alexander Dumas, which you might not recognize from his name, is that he was a quarter black. He was born in Haiti. Well, what is now called Haiti. It wasn't called Haiti at the time. But he was a quarter black. And the story goes that when he was born, his mother, after giving birth and seeing him, literally cried out in joy because he was basically white passing. She didn't want him to have to live in the world as a black man because she knew how hard that was going to be. So he went through his life pretty much white passing, right? Like for the most part. But if you see pictures of him, you can see that while he's got fair skin and doesn't have a whole lot of what they would consider to be black features back then, he did have very curly, crimpy kind of hair, and it's rather iconic now when you see pictures of him. But at the time, this was a telltale sign for most people that he had, a quarter black in him. And I'm using that term. I'm saying it the way that they would say it then. Like, that's just how they talked. So I think it's important to understand that this is who This is how he grew up. This is what he was. And it absolutely, created a lot of real hard times for him, mostly in his later life. Now, the reason I want to talk about that is because I think that it's important to understand that this was a guy that was literally at the top of his game. Everybody loved him. But as soon as he went from entertaining people to trying to do something serious, to being a serious politician, to trying to actually make changes that would, impact others, he was what's known as a Republican, but like a true Republican, meaning he wanted to fight against monarchy. And this was somebody that believed in, people voting. He believed in justice, and he believed in, fighting against tyranny. And that's what republicanism meant to him at that point in time. And he tried that, and he was mocked. He was mocked across his entire country. He was mocked in the newspapers. You can still find images of artists in newspapers back then making the most, I can't even put them on here, just disgusting artist renditions of him as, like an ape and shit like that. And he had a quarter, a quarter. I mean, it's so disgusting to see that, I couldn't help but mention it. This is something that I've known for a long time about him, but I think that a lot of people kind of pass over it. And I hate that. I hate the fact that we have essentially a black author who wrote some of the most important things, maybe ever, like some of the best action novels and romance novels ever written, and people don't even know he's black. People just completely pass over that. Now, I want to talk about this quote, so I'm going to stop there talking about his past because I want to talk about this quote. I believe that it is very, very important, and it's something that I've talked about here lots of times before. Alexandre Dumas once said, "Learning does not make one learned. There are those who have knowledge and those who have understanding. The first requires memory, the second, philosophy." I'm going to read that again, and I want you to think about, if you've watched any of my other videos, I want you to think about them and recognize how important this quote is to me. Learning does not make one learned. There are those who have knowledge and those who have understanding. The first requires memory, and the second, philosophy. This answers a question that many people have asked me. Why do I dive so much into philosophy, even though I can only get little tidbits here, little sound bites there, little tiny bits of understanding? Why do I do it? This is why. This is why. Because it is very, very easy. I could get on here and give you a quote from anybody. I could just put it on the fucking screen. I don't have to give you any context. I don't have to give you any sort of editorial commentary on it, right? Like I could just give you that and see what you do with it. It's easy to memorize these things and believe that you have knowledge. You see this all over social media. This is kind of what social media is based on at this point in time, is people just getting on here, making the quickest blurb they can to try to put something in your head, and then you feel like you have knowledge. Unfortunately, as Alexander Dumas says, that's not actually doing you much. Like, yes, you can memorize things. That's wonderful. That's great that you have factoids floating around in your head. Unfortunately, that doesn't lead to any sort of understanding. There's not any context. There's not any understanding of nuance. There's nothing there to kind of glue these little fragmented things that you have floating around together. You don't have what they call wisdom, what they call understanding. You have knowledge. And there are literally billions of people that are very, very knowledgeable that have like little to no understanding of what they're actually talking about. When I do my videos, when I do my quote of the day, when I do my long ass 10-minute videos, it's because I'm trying to impart whatever understanding I possibly can to the people that want to sit through it. Because I understand that at some level, the ability to convey ideas means that it's my responsibility to give you an understanding, not just hand you a factoid, a snippet, a little blurb, and say, you do what you will with that, because that's not really going to do much for you. You need that context, and you need to understand it. And that's why we need to know that Alexandre Dumas was a quarter black. And that's why we need to know that it's his birthday today, and we should celebrate him. Go watch Three Musketeers. Go read it. Happy birthday to him, and to the rest of you, please take care of yourself and take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.